So there's a slight innovation in this presentation, is that this isn't a listicle of 10 things, it's 5 slides. There's an abstract of some stuff that I've learned, some kind of tools in the free versions that you might want to try, some partnership ideas, and then there is actually an internal and external tools list as well at the end. And I think slides are being made available for this anyway, so you should be able to get those later. So I'm going to see if I can get this clicker to work. Okay, so things that I learned. I am currently digital editor-in-chief for Trinity Mirror, now Reach. Previously, I was innovation editor for Trinity Mirror, working across all the regionals. And as part of that, I did learn very quickly that there's no budget when you want to do innovation. What you do have to be is the mother of invention. Luckily, I had an amazing team. Paul Gallagher, who did the newsletter session earlier, still carries the innovation flame in his title, but we still work together, and we try and do more things to stretch our journalism, to get it into in front of people, to tell stories in different ways, to bring people into our stories in new ways, basically, using tools or different techniques. So some of the things that I learned during that time, the who, what, where, when, why, how stuff that you are taught as a trainee journalist applies when you are trying to innovate with content. You have to really think about who you're doing it for, what you want them to know, what you want to tell them, where they're going to be when you want to reach them. Why would they care about it is a really important one, because an innovation lives or dies by whether people actually do care about it. How is it useful, valuable, important to them? Or, actually, that last one also applies to the newsroom. How does it shift newsroom culture? How does it make people in the newsroom think differently about the work that they do, the audiences that they work with? So that there's some really kind of important kind of internal systems that I run through when I'm thinking about a new idea. And talking of which, the system for sharing ideas is really important. In Reach, we have in-house Facebook groups, we use Slack, we have Hangouts, we have daily calls that people can join around ideas, meetups. All these things help surface ideas that wouldn't necessarily get amplification. If you're not somebody who gets invited to the news conferences or gets to talk to the people who are saying, what about if we did X, Y, Z, very often it's really difficult to think how you would get an idea not just taken up, but how you would articulate it and why you think it's important. So just having some spaces where people throughout the company, throughout editorial, can kind of share ideas and start building something brilliant through collaboration and come out with something that you say, yeah, I'm actually going to help you build that. We are going to make that happen. It's so important. Do have KPIs, benchmarks, and deadlines. I'm really crap at the deadlines bit. I think we did a virtual reality tour of Liverpool film scene where Hollywood basically films this year, and honestly I think that took about 6 months basically because I didn't set a deadline for it. So know what you're trying to achieve, know when you want it to be done by, and what the benchmarks along the way are. A to Z plans are rubbish. Be flexible. You're a journalist, so be prepared to have surprises. I would say an A to B plan is better, and once you've got A to B, you know what the end goal is, but then you've also got the ability to say, actually it's going in a different direction, so I'm going to take it that way because that feels better. Fail fast is a phrase I really hate, and people say it a lot at conferences, and actually you should not fail fast. As an industry, we are too familiar with accepting failure. Just learn what you do as you're doing and adapt it, and if it does fail, then talk about it and own it and understand what you can learn from that. Don't give it a midnight burial and never discuss it again. You will always take something away from an idea and trying something. But don't be distracted by the shiny. You know, I'm not really wasting effort on VR because right now we don't have the kit, we don't have, you know, the time or the ability to do too much with that. We've had a bit of an experiment with it, but really, until it becomes something that is more in the world, it's just something that isn't going to be that valuable to us. So, some other things. Fine is great. I love fine. I love free, rather. I really love free stuff. So, we use shorthand, which people might know about. It's a lovely, immersive way of displaying stories, and it's quite expensive. Shorthand Social is free. You can do a very similar amount of work with it. It will help you make a decision on how to make a good immersive story, because I have to say the first couple that we made weren't, I mean, they looked great, but that wasn't the purpose of it. We forgot who are we doing it for and what is going to be useful to them. We just made beautiful things. What they really needed to be was much shorter for a start and be far more interactive. So have a play with Shorthand Social. We use Harken in Birmingham at the moment, which is an organisation, a journalism organisation that helps us manage conversations with readers. But before we did Harken, we set up our own experiment in Huddersfield called Ask Examiner, and we used Google Forms for that. And basically, readers told us what they wanted us to investigate, what was interesting to them, what they would like a Huddersfield Examiner reporter to go and look into. And that might be something around like really major health issues, or it might be why a particular road was called that. And they always performed well in terms of Chartbeat and analytics. People liked them. Have a look at a site called GitHub. You can find all kinds of code that you can repurpose on there. I had a look today. If I wanted to make a Chrome extension that would change every Donald Trump story to pictures of kittens, not only is that code on there, but also is a walkthrough of how I could do that in my browser. So developers are generally awesome people. They like to share what they do. Our data unit puts things on there. I'm pretty sure that the people you work with, Megan, will be making that content available too. GitHub's a great resource. But don't always wait to be kind of perfect for new things either. So, you know, if you are there when the early adopters are there, you start to build relationships with them. You are a kind of friendly voice in a very empty room. We found that a lot on social media in the like 2007, 2008. A lot of the tech crowd in Liverpool, where I work, moved into that, found the echo was already there, started relationships with us as a result that endure to this day. And I'll come on to that in a bit more. Little things can really make a difference. There are browser spoofers that you can install as a Chrome extension, change agent, that will actually change what you're looking at on screen to see it as your audience does. Something as simple as doing that and having a vertical desktop monitor will make a huge difference. It's not a content innovation, but it will change how your newsroom can view the content that most people are consuming, like the stuff that you're making in the newsroom are actually viewing it. Think about making your news team entirely mobile for a day. Nobody can use a computer. Just make them do everything on a phone. I bet that it goes really well. I bet that they also invest very quickly in a battery pack. Share your story. Jen at the MEN is brilliant at this. She will often tell people what she's thinking of doing, the meeting that she's going to, and how she might approach the story on that. Not only does her community really appreciate it, but you will find that if you involve people in what you're thinking of, they will start adding experiences to it in many situations. It can make your journalism richer. Upload your complex documents. You know, this conversation has been had today already. Make things available. Where are the next Panama Papers? They're potentially in a really complex, long agenda that, you know, is on a council website somewhere hidden, that you can make people be able to find more easily by surfacing it yourselves, maybe putting it into scribed, so it is a scrollable, you know, PDF for them to read, and then asking them to help you look through it. And also, you know, we've heard, you know, don't think social, think mobile. Well, I would say don't think social media, think social. Do the real world thing. You will meet people who can help you make your ideas happen. The the people that I met at Liverpool Social Media Cafe are still working with me today on like quite complex tech things. I like free, I also like money. There is funding for innovation. There's a couple of links there. The European Journalism Council does have funding available at the moment if you want to go and have a look and you pitch them an idea. Universities have Innovations Lab and academic funding. Google DNI is a great thing, and I say that as someone who's working with UCLan in Preston on a project at the moment around how people want to interact and get their news around the Internet of Things. So, the screen clicker that will also tell you what the headlines are. This kind of information is something that we are learning a lot from around how our communities want to find out about news and what they consider is news. One of the most eye-opening things that I've done is Mandy, who's helped us put this on today, set up some focus groups in Bristol and Manchester with DNI funding for this project, and we talked to actual readers about what they considered news, and people will consider the posters on their butcher's door news because it's useful information to them. That's fascinating. You can also you work with communities, but you have to give to receive. As we heard with the hyper-local journalism communities, the maker communities, the hyper-locals, and the big tech, they will all be available to work with you. We're in Nottingham tomorrow, actually, with Google, putting on an event there for journalists and others in the community, and that's a free event. And if you want to talk to Benedicte about what she's doing, I'm sure that she'd be happy to talk to you about kind of how she's worked with the Nottingham Post to make that happen, and whether she might be able to work with you on a similar thing. And use social tools to find these people. So Meetup is a great, if you don't know who your maker community is, have a look on Meetup. You'll find people there. One of the people I know from that built an Internet of Things live bird for the Liverpool Echo that lights up when people tweet different things or tells them when people are getting excited about a certain topic on social media. Instagram is a great way of meeting up. We hold, with some of our Instagram people, we hold real-world meetups around that. Twitter, obviously, and Facebook. These are all communities that you can start to work with, have a conversation, and it can lead to then helping you make your ideas happen. And if they make your ideas happen, they will also share it and be a part of it and own it, and it's a better relationship for the future as well. So this is really small text, I'm afraid. But the internal tools that we use, Slack, Google Groups, Google Keep, I would say, are all really great ways of keeping a track on an idea that you're working on and showing people how it's progressing, having team conversations around it. I don't do Gantt charts. I'm not great on things like that. I'd much rather have a running conversation about how my project is working. Collaborative workflow, Trello, Google Sheets and Dropbox. These are all great ways of keeping on top of how your idea is progressing. Sharing, you might want to think about internal newsletters, so you kind of let people know what you're working on, progress of an idea. Basically, the more you can kind of tell people what you're working on internally, the more they will start to think about how they can be involved with their own ideas. Everything can't begin and end with you. You're really busy people. And also, if you look at some of our meetings, the people who are sat in those news conferences making decisions don't represent the communities that they are trying to reach with content and ideas and innovations. So, having internal and external conversations around this, really important. Project planning, if you do like to have some kind of mind map, but you don't like Gantt charts like me, Xminds is free and is really useful. And if you do find a tool that you want, but it's expensive and it's asking you for like $20 a year, and that's just not going to cut it, have a look at alternative.net, and that will find some free versions for you. They won't be as good potentially, but they will, do the job. Conferencing and training, we use Google Hangouts, and I screen record a lot to show people how to do things. I find that really helpful. And if you need to capture things that you're working on, send them around. Particularly if you are doing some kind of collaborative work, then things like Jing and Sketch are really great tools to do that. And social bookmarking like Pocket and Evernote, I would also suggest. We've heard a lot today about external kind of tools, so I'm not going to go through all these in detail, but I would say if you want to know how to make any of the Google stuff, Vincent from Google should be your new best friend. We work with him a lot. He's been to many of our newsrooms. He's an absolute wizard. So he will help you achieve things. And again, it's also, it makes people think more about what they could do. So it's almost like to start innovating and don't worry about where it goes. Just bring some people in and start working on ideas. So like I said, I'm not going to go through all of these because like we've heard from Google, we've heard from newsletters, and we've also heard from Twitter today. But those are some of the things that I use that are free, completely free, that help me kind of when I'm trying to make things or get information out. I'm happy to talk to people if they need any more thoughts around that, but right now I'm going to stop because I have 4 minutes left and I don't know if anybody wants to ask anything about stuff.